baby. This is the show where it's okay to be you. We're talking from Yale to jail and from the church house to the pimp house. Nothing's excluded on Shop Talk. So if you don't have a phone, I suggest you borrow one. Call in and voice your opinion live every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Yeah, that's right, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Don't forget to Shop Talk with your girl, because right here, we keeps it real. Good morning to my lovely people, and you are listening to Shop Talk with Mel. Today's guest is none other than Ahala. Let's give her a round of applause. A Shop Talk round of applause. Then we have, how do you pronounce that? Comedian? Is that it? Comedian. Oh, right. And then we also have, who's down in the ATL, Lamont Bryant, comedian Lamont Bryant. Let's give him a Shop Talk round of applause. All right, and we also have our regular co-host that is on the show, Rugo, the movie guy. He keeps us up on what's happening in the movie world. And also Nick, the voice. She tell us what's happening. Word to the curb. Keep us posted on what's happening, Nick. Right. Let's get this stuff going.
In progress.
All right, lovely people. So we talked about the whole, Nick and Rugo, we talked about on, the last few shows, was it, I believe? We talked about Dave Chappelle. And I wanted some comedians to come on the show and let's Shop Talk about how is it to be, first of all, tell me your thoughts on how you think you know what? I always keep it straight with no chaser, so let me just do me. How do you feel, and I'm going to start with you, Ebony, ladies before gentlemen, I holla. How do you feel about how certain organizations, I'm choosing my words, the LGBTQ, I don't know the other letters, and I'm not trying to be funny, community is coming at Dave Chappelle. How do you feel about that?
I think they coming at it all wrong because, for one, I don't understand how, the things that I watched that show. I watched this Netflix special a few times. I think nothing wrong with what he said. But my issue is, how is it when, just suppose, you're from that community and you sit there with your family and friends, the same thing y'all can sit and laugh about at the family reunion, why is it different because he's talking about it on stage?
Good point.
I don't understand what the problem is. You can sit there and joke about it, and it's like he's talking to a whole nationwide of people about everything. He's talking about LGBTQ. He's talking about white, everything. He's covering everybody that has been going through issues like black people with the racism. He's talking about everything. So I don't understand why they're being pinpointed, why they feel they're being pinpointed at this moment, because he said nothing wrong. He said absolutely nothing wrong with anything he said. And as a comedian, I feel that, yes, we are given a platform to discuss every topic that's going around. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not understanding why they're choosing him, you know what I'm saying, to just all of a sudden point the finger. But you're not pointing the fingers like I said before. You're not pointing the finger, and then your family members that's joking with you, you know what I'm saying? You might not think it's a joke, and they're being real about what they're saying to you. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not understanding why they're giving him so much backlash. Because he did absolutely nothing wrong. He respected them in every way, as far as I can see that he did.
Okay. All right, Lamont, what's your thoughts? Same question.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I got gay cousins, sorry about that, but I do. I got a lot of them, you know what I'm saying, mixed in from out of town to, you know what I'm saying, but I feel like it needs to be talked about and it needs to be clarified because it's a lot of genderfying going on, dismantling our strong black men and making them into strong black women. And that's not right for a man to grow up having to decide which way to go because you're a man. It shouldn't be no way you should have to decide. You're a man, and like that's like us preaching black hate the white people. They wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? It goes accordingly to how this world is going. Like before, it was a time they didn't even want gay people in this world. Now everything you look, every time you turn, is grown men walking around acting like women. How's our boys supposed to become men if you got this going on? You got them chasing after men, and that's wrong. Just like you promote women on women, that's still wrong. But you know, what can you say about it? This is society everybody wants. Because the money and the drugs overlook everything. Now that got you off track of paying attention to what's really going on in life. And this is why we're in this position we're in right now with Dave Chappelle, because one word can make a grown man sensitive nowadays. You can't even whip your kids. You don't get no respect from your own kids because the world is just so far gone on everything except what it needs to be. Like if it make you mad, somebody talking about you, then don't come outside like that. You know that people don't talk about you. There's gonna be people who don't say stuff about you because you dress like that. So if you don't want that to happen, don't come outside like that. Don't indulge in that lane, because when you do, that's the stuff that happens. You know people don't say stuff.
Okay. And you know what? I appreciate your honesty. I truly do. I truly do. I watched the special, Nick Rugo, we talked about it. And it was, my thoughts on it, honestly, as far as like this whole cancel culture is just really driving me nuts. It really is. And then I'm going to dig into a little bit more with what you're talking about, Lamont, as well. This whole cancel culture, and it's like, okay, we're standing up for our rights and forget your rights. That's it in a nutshell. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper. But when I watched the special, I didn't see anything wrong with it. And I believe, Ahala, you talked about how he spoke about everybody. And if you look at television, honestly, me and my girl Rain from ATL was talking. And if you look at all shows, somebody is going to be offended.
Right.
In every show. Nobody, I mean, you know, you don't have a bunch of women, you know, barrage of females out there because it's a rape show. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm offended by that. Or people, victims of rape, you know, saying this need not be there. If that was the case, and I hate to go that deep, but I'm going because I'm a female. And honestly, every time the females walk out the door, guys, you probably don't know this, but every time we walk out the door alone, we are on guard because we don't know if somebody's planning on raping us. Now, because of what we carry. You know what I mean? So you just don't know. So we're not trusting anybody.
Right.
Honestly, you know, our high beams are on, and you don't see that. There's a lot of truth in film. I believe that as a author, you know, and a playwright, there's a lot of truth in all the stories. So somebody had gone through that.
Exactly.
And so in everything that you see, somebody's going to be offended. Like, again, when I watched The Closer, I was not upset.
Right.
I thought it was more like an olive branch, if you ask me, you know, but I do like the fact that now, let me say this too. On that special, he touched bases on how, who was that? The one that killed somebody in Walmart, and the rapper, he killed somebody. Who? The baby, right. And he spoke, he had a little segment on that. He said it's really interesting how they didn't care about the fact that you murdered somebody in Walmart. But because he said what he said during his show, where what he believed, you know what I mean? Then, we're canceling him. He was like, that's wow. So it was like, take a look. Like, look at this. Like, this is nuts. Okay, well, I don't like what you said. This is what we're doing. Boom. Let's go. Like, they just put out a call and said, let's go after this person because we're offended. But a lot of people are offended. I mean, this is right at the George Floyd, you know, era. This is happening right now. This is, you can kill somebody out in public. You have the outrage, and then the outrage is kind of like, and we as Black people are forgiving people. It's kind of dying down and getting quiet. And there are those that are still fighting. But then is it really the squeaky wheel get the grease? The louder I scream, the more you hear me.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to give it back to you, give you the mic. in my mind, the more decibels that you have, the higher you are, I shut down because I can't hear you. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're screaming, but what about my thoughts, my freedom? If I don't agree with you, then it's just like, oh, okay, you hate me? No, because I love me does not mean I hate you.
Right.
And that's what's seeming to happen. It's like, okay, wait, so we can't think the way that we think. And if we think this is wrong, oh, you're wrong. So it's almost reversal. And if an organization felt like they were being bullied, well, guess what? Now you didn't like the way it felt, but now you're becoming the bully.
Right.
And it's, it's like, okay, so what are we doing here? And honestly, my view, and let me say this, my views are not the views of the guests on Shop Talk with Mel. I really feel as though it's going all the way to the left instead of like the middle ground. That certain organizations, when you keep rallying out like boom, 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 we don't like this, we don't like that, you're silencing other people, which will eventually isolate you again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Lamont, you got the mic.
I say this. The culture we're in right now is promoting death and promoting drugs and promoting sexuality like to the forefront. Because you gotta look at it like this. Everything you do, all the music you hear is about death or guns or drugs or like these dudes don't even make good music no more. It sounds like they be too high to understand what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And like just like some of the movies you watch nowadays, they remake everything instead of just being original and coming up with something different. They remake everything. Everything is like they want everything to stay the same, but they want a new feeling to it. You know what I'm saying? And the more they keep preaching this culture to our people, the more we're gonna be blinded. You know, and then like in 2043, if black people don't start investing into themselves and their own community, our dollar gonna be worthless.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be worthless.
Rugo, the movie guy, since you are the movie guy, what's your thoughts on what Lamont Bryant, comedian Lamont Bryant, said?
About the African American dollar?
No, well, I know you got that together. Go ahead, yeah, speak to that.
Well, that's the first time I've heard that. It was interesting with me. I want to research that, just learn more about it. But I will speak to the idea that
of the movies, movies too. I want you to do the movies too. Yeah, I want you to do that too. Speak to what he was saying about the movies as well. And sorry to cut you off. I apologize.
Okay. No, I was just going to say we have a big problem with recycling our dollars within our community. That's one of the major problems is that we have to, like, one African American dollar goes completely out of the community. It doesn't recycle. And sometimes, it can't happen, but it's like, okay, in a place like Youngstown, that's going to be the barbershop. That may be one or two restaurants that we have. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. But we don't have a economic system within our community to stabilize that growth. And I think that's a very, very important thing. That's why I resonated with what he was saying there. As far as movies, I look at the movie, like the remakes and stuff of movies on two pathways. You know, I think sometimes it is a cash grab to steal an original idea that was successful. It's like in music, right? Like one of the reasons I'm really not a Mary J. Blige fan. I'm like, half of her successes off of songs that were hits. You know what I mean? I'm like, people are like, why would you say that? Because Sweet Thing is not her song.
Right.
It was tested and successful. You know what I mean? I mean, it was. You see that a lot. The difference I would say with movies, especially like the genres I like, is that sometimes the ability to do what you want to do is not there, right? It's like the only reason Avengers is successful now is that it would have never worked, 20 years ago. It's too technologically savvy for it to work in that way that it works now. But when we think about I think the key point that he was trying to bring about with that was, well, at least what I received from it was that when we do have these remakes and things like that, they do their best for inclusion of everybody, right? Because Hollywood's focus is, how do we engage everybody? Like, that's how, like, you see so many movies focused in, like, Black Panther had a Asian scene in it or whatever, because they want to sell that movie to a market of people where there's a billion people, you know? Mm-hmm. So we do see a lot of what we call inclusion in movies. It's important for representation, of course, but I think it goes beyond that when we talk about marketing. So, you know, inclusion means revenue, and it also means opportunity too. So it's so, I think it's what we make of it and the products that we have. And I think there's a lot of concern with people saying, well, yeah, you put me in a movie, but you poorly represented me. You know, and that's something that, like, black exploitation films, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that was one of the biggest points of there was like, okay, so how do you get past this? How do you have movies where, like, it's Oscar,
I say your air quotes,
Oscar worthy, right? You know, that sort of thing. How do you have representation on television? You know, like, how do you because even though Good Times is one of my all-time favorite sitcoms of all time, I think it's one of the greatest works ever made. Mm-hmm. You know, there are people today that will look back at it and say, like, hey, there are some major problems with representation in this show, right?
Now, right, and it wasn't.
Now, I mean, now people would reflect on there. Archie Bunker would get no play today, right? I mean, that's just what it is. You know, but the reality of all movies and music is that it really is a reflection of what was going on at that time. You know, I mean, like the song "War." You know, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing, right? You can't. You know, I mean, that song is, even though it was paramount at the time it came out during Vietnam War, that sort of thing. I mean, doesn't it resonate with every conflict that we have in mankind? You know what I mean? Even if it's people like, oh, we can't have this stuff in our school systems, or we can't do this, or you don't want you to teach this, and all that sort of thing. It's this war over what? Like, I mean, we got to dig into the truth of why, and I think that's something that that art needs to reflect more. I mean, especially when you're talking about music and stuff today, reflect more. I talked to a young dude the other day, and we was talking about music or something, and I said, it's the one group I just don't understand. And he was like, man, they so good, this and that. And I was like, but but their lyrics is whack. And he's like, no, music today ain't about lyrics, it's about the vibe.
Okay. Yeah, and hey, I feel that. I feel that, how they feel and how it makes them feel. But just like what Lamont was saying, were you saying something about people high? Who was that said that they like high making music? What? Yeah. The vibe.
Yeah, it's the vibe now. Now, like back in the days, like I was telling, we go sit and talk to kids in high school. And the first thing they say is, I'm trying to do something different. I'm trying to be better. And then you got the one kid's like, man, everybody else do it. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to look at how they just, like, art. Like if you look at how they promote music out of their age and what they're doing in their community. You know what I'm saying? They don't promote music like, oh, he got a nice song, this and that. You either got to either shot somebody, you got to have a record, you know what I'm saying, before they even come look your way. They don't even look your way if you ain't doing nothing in the community. Like, you ain't got no record. These record labels ain't spending no money on you. They want somebody they got to bail out and bond out because he going to promote the culture. You know, somebody in the trap, somebody who popping pills or rapping about it. They want him because he gonna keep the community where it's at. Gun violence, black on black crime. This is what they promote. You know what I'm saying? People don't pay no attention. You know what I'm saying? People just listen to the music. They don't pay attention to what's really going on.
So you pretty much agree with what he was saying. They're not listening to the words or anything. It's just like talking about a vibe and whatever they're into. As comedians, and this, either one, you can jump in at any time. How do you feel? I know you got some shows. Both of you guys got shows coming up. How do you feel going up on the stage? Do you feel like you now have to watch what you say?
when I go on stage, this is in my mind, and this is what I say about everything in life. Everything is laughable. It's how you present it. And when I say that, like, you know, they have a whole, you know, they remember the time frame wasn't too long about with the body shaming. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a joke. You know, and everybody know I'm big at the bottom and I'm small on top. But I have a joke where how I talk about, like, I always wanted big boobs when I was little. I said, but now I'm an adult. I'm glad I don't have big boobs because now I don't have to roll my boobs up so my granddaughter can have a place to sit.
Okay.
So that offended a few ladies because they don't have any children, but their boobs are big and they sad. I was not attacking you. That was a joke personally about me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I wasn't, I remember when you sent me the clip you were saying about the, how the man was saying about your jokes being weaponized. I'm not using that as a weapon. It's everyday thing because I wish I had boobs. There's people who wish they had my butt. So we all do the same thing. You know, so I wish I had this and I wish I had that, but they don't know the struggles behind what we don't have. You know, I try to touch bases on stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, maliciously point people out to tell my jokes. I talk about everything so everybody can laugh. It's like you said, it's how you present it. And I try to present it in a manner that some people can understand what I'm saying about, the big boobs.
Okay. Go ahead, Lamont. I got, wait 1 second, Nick. Go ahead, Lamont. So you said, I heard you say no already. Look, that was easy, no. Go ahead.
You said the question one more time.
Are you careful with your words on stage?
I speak no English. I believe the 15th.
You just bringing that heat up.
I'm gonna keep it with like, I've done everybody. I ain't gonna lie. I do. I'm just that type of comedian because I just tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's not to hurt your feelings, but this is comedy. If we ain't got nothing to talk about, what you gonna talk about?
You're right. And if you can't laugh at yourself, then what? You want people to just be in a rut? Let me give you the number here. The phone number here is 619-902-2287. If you guys want to join in the conversation, feel free to do so. You also can text 619-902-2287. Ahala, actress, comedian. Everybody love Ahala. And let me let you know, that's our comedian right there that we had on. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Also, Lamont Bryan. Let me tell you this. Lamont Bryan's hometown. Okay. Well, he's Warren, but the hometown radio personality for those, this is where you probably know him. And I'm going to put it out there and then you'll be able to relate. Lamont and the Two White Guys. He is the original Lamont, and that's his name, Lamont, who was replaced by our boy BK, and I was like, wait a minute, BK. He like, my name is Brian. I'm not Lamont, but
I'm gonna tell you a funny situation real quick about that.
Go ahead.
Like, BK my dude, man, but it was like once he did that show, I was telling him, like, don't use, like, tell me to change the name. He kept saying all this and that. So I blew out on Skip. He was like, you know what? Just gonna end the show.
What had happened was
oh my God, man.
And then we have Nicole Keller. Grace. And I do want your input on this, Nick the Voice, because, which I can just imagine what you're going to say, but being silenced, we talk about like the comedy, that's our relief. We go there when we have stresses at home, but if you have the comedian up on stage, you're like, yeah, and I am one. That is my outlet. Comedy is my outlet. Let me go hear this, and you laugh at what's true to you. You can relate and what's relatable. And just like Ahala was saying earlier, she was talking about herself. And then you have people that's going to be offended. Everywhere you go, somebody is going to be offended. And it's like, it's just like, I can't remember his name, and he's gonna be sad because I know who it is. COVID fog. I'm blaming it on that. The one to be like, it's just comedy. That guy.
That ain't that talent. The comedian, he said, it's just talent.
Yeah. So Nick, what's your thoughts on having to watch what you say without offending anyone?
My thoughts. Y'all already know me. I'm gonna say what I got to say, and I don't care who get mad. I got nothing to throw in my mouth.
But you know what? I have to respect that, because let's be real. So us being silenced and not being able, no freedom of speech, and not being able to say what's on our mind, and maybe that's the way we relieve our stress. Okay, you be stressed because you offended me. Come on. So back to what Lamont was saying, it's leading to death. If you look at it medically, it's like if you don't release your stresses, what happens?
You go have a stroke.
Right. Or it's just going to be
for nobody.
It's going to be a quiet world if nobody, because if we have to look at what we say, because let's be real, every word, even the words that come out of my mouth, I know, because nobody's going to agree. Every day you speak, every sentence that you state, someone somewhere is going to be offended. So if you have to speak to someone, do you say, I hope I don't offend you? Or do you give them a preface and say, or a disclaimer, I hope this don't offend you? Like,
No.
Because when you say that,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lamont.
If I offend you, then it must be some truth to what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I don't understand that then, because if it offends you, that's making me bring the real out of you. So evidently, it must be something you hide that I'm saying is making you feel like that. That's all I can say.
Go ahead, Nick. Your thoughts on what he said.
You know what I was thinking about earlier, just putting something on Facebook to that. Like, if you are easily offended by something I said or something I post, then that must mean you're guilty.
Yep.
Okay. Your thoughts, Ahala?
right? Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. I mean, it's like that. Like Lamont said, that's how you are for real. That's why. So why am I going to come in and just make that disclaimer? I don't want to offend you, because I can be saying, like you can just say something and that person automatically offended. Like, why are you offended? Because that's how you really felt the whole time. You're just waiting for the opportunity for you to say what you want to say, because you're mad about something. And it's really, but yeah, it's horrible. Like you said, but I try not to. I mean, I get this, how you, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it, I'm going to present it into a way. You know what I'm saying? I'm still going to say what I'm going to say, but I might say a little bit more professional to you, or I might say, out hood to the next person, but I'm going to say the same thing.
Uh-huh. Now,
That's, yeah.
I was watching The View, and I'm paraphrasing. What's her name? Condoleezza Rice was on there. And she was talking about what she was talking about. And when she pretty much said, and this is just me paraphrasing, that we as Black people, when we have issues, we need to say what we mean without offending white people. Oh yeah.
So we got to walk on eggshells for that.
They don't care about what they say, and it offends us. They never did.
Right.
And I went right back to white fragility. Me and Rugal had this conversation about white fragility many years ago, and he kind of like schooled me on that, and I just thought it was strange that we, yes, Nick, why do we have to walk on eggshells for them? She said it. It was on The View. I paraphrase how she spoke it, but that's what I got from it, and that's what it was, without offending white people. She didn't say others. She said white people. Rugal, what's your thoughts on what I spoke? I paraphrased it, but What's your thoughts on being able to say what you want to say, but without offending others? I'm going to say others for you.
For me, I am very. Unfortunately, I feel like there is a. I'm very cautious about what I say. You know, I'm very, and it's just because like
The positions you hold.
yeah, and sometimes people go, they try to misinterpret what you say, what your intent is, right? So whenever I'm talking to somebody, let's say I'm having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, I'll tell them, just tell me what you want to say. I feel like I feel like we are at a level for me to discern what your intent is, right?
Okay.
So I see Lamont has a hand.
No. Go, finish your thought. I got it.
Yeah. So that's one approach I take when I'm having a conversation with people, because not everyone, even I. Sometimes I like people in certain situations. You don't have the words to express yourself in a way that may be considered, air quotes here, PC. You know what I mean? So but people need to express themselves, and you got to meet people where they are. You know, and so. I do see that there's some what you say can be restricted based off of what people's intent was. So like, for example, we talked about Dave Chappelle's show here earlier. What I got from that was that he wrote an endearing letter to a friend.
Yes.
That was my takeaway from it. He told that friend's story because guess what? Nobody else was going to tell Daphne's story.
Right.
Nobody else is going to tell that story. You know what I mean? No one else could tell that story. You know, I mean, just because,
Tell me. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
when you brought that up, that brought up just what Lamont said at the beginning.
Yeah.
I felt Dave Chappelle didn't say, but that's why he killed himself. What he said, this is my thought. She, I'm sorry. She stood up for Dave Chappelle, and then her own people, her being a transgender, attacked her, and then she jumps off a building. That's so I took that as, yeah, guess what? Dave didn't say this. This is me saying this. Look, y'all killed her. Your own people. Y'all killed her. But go ahead. I want, Lamont, what's your view on the Condoleezza Rice? I'm not going to say statement because I paraphrased it. But on the... Yeah, that's all right. I'll bring it back as the host. Condoleezza Rice. What did I say?
You said, I don't know what you said. Like, yeah, a stroke or something.
Rice. Oh, you can't hear me. Oh, I'm sorry. My sound is bad. Condoleezza Rice. I know her name very, very well, trust and believe, because I was proud of her. What's your thoughts on what she said on The View regarding, you can explain yourself, or you can explain yourself without offending white people?
What?
Yeah, that's
all
what.
All them years we got beat, all them years we got kicked, all them years and you talking about you can say things without offending white people? I'm offended you for that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna write her a letter, dear Condoleezza Rice. And you are back, okay?
Yes.
Her Candace Owens really.
She was the house.
Wait, Nick, because you cut him off. Go ahead.
Candace Owens and Condoleezza Rice, I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand how you can be black and feel the way some of these people be feeling. Like, do you not understand what our great-grandparents went through, what some people still going through? And you got the nerve to get behind these white people and smiles, and I just don't be understanding it. It's cool I'm not even going to say it's cool. I like, some of the stuff that we go through as black people, I don't understand how we sit back and just let it go. I just don't understand it, but, I understand people talk a lot and be scared to move at the same time. There's a lot of talk about we should do this, but when it's time to do it, you don't see nobody.
Okay, go ahead, Nick.
No, I'm just saying those are your typical house Negroes.
Okay. Okay.
That's why they say what they say. You know, the house Negroes, now you know you got to do what Master said, because if you don't do what Master say, he going to beat you.
Listen.
He said, you're trying to be great. I'm telling Master.
Right. Like that, Rugal, you told me, look, like the Django. Rugal say the D is silent. But I was like, the Django.
Well, Samuel Jackson said when he came out the house, he said, what that nigga doing up there on that bag?
Right. And you do have those people, honestly, you do. And you have them at the workplace. And it's like, sometimes I look and I'm like, for real? Like, you know what I mean? Because you still black. Like, trust and believe. If it's going to be you or them, trust and believe it's going to be you. I was in a situation being in management, and I thought we were tight, but I still recognize what I recognize, right? She was white. We kicked it. We had a good time. Oh, you know, boom, boom, boom. She was the bomb. She was the bomb boss, but she was wrong. So it's her and I. We're in the meeting. We have a weekly meeting, and she tried to cover herself. So who did she throw under the bus? Yes. And in that meeting, let me say this. You can't tell me nothing about God. I'm going to tell you, you can't. I said, and I spoke it. I looked and I said, I'm really disappointed in you. And I said her name. And she said, "Hon," I said, "I'm just really disappointed in you." I said, by the time this meeting is over, and I looked at our bosses, I said, the truth will come out. I said, trust me and trust God. The truth will come out. And I just let it go because she was throwing me on the bus. I already said what I said. I'm not going to go back and forth. This is not a debate. We know what the truth is. By the end of that 45-minute meeting, the head boss asked her the same question she asked at the very beginning. And she said she never got the call and blah, 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 blah. I'm just let y'all know that was it. I never got the call and I don't know. She never called me. And I know that I called her because they could check the phone logs. But knowing them, they probably already did. So I'm sitting there and it was 43 after. And they kept asking her. She got frustrated with the question. And what did she do when she got frustrated with the question? She started debating. And, you know, attacking. She was on defense. And her last statement was, I'm not answering the phone. And then they said, so she did call. Yeah, she called, but I didn't answer. Done. And I looked at the COO. I looked over at her and I just winked. Because all I could do is stand on truth. You can believe her or you cannot. The only black face in the place was me. Matter of fact, I was the only black face in the office. Okay. So that was a lot of pressure in itself because every black person that came through, you know, they like thumbs up, older black women coming up and, you know, it's like, I'm so proud, you know, of you. And you don't realize that people are looking to you and excited about you being in that position. And did I represent myself? I didn't feel like I represented myself. I felt like I represent everyone in our race. So talk about going in like that and those pressures. But it came out and I was devastated by that because I thought this was my girl. But I knew, you know, you had that back there. And when I saw it, I was like, wake up call, ding. You know, just in case you forgot, Mel, ding. And she threw me under the bus because the job was who's going to lose. You know, it was what was at stake was who's going to lose their job.
Wow.
And yes. Right. So she said she was trying to save herself, but the truth came out. 45-minute meeting. It came out. Eventually, I left. And the reason I left is because guess what? None of you guys trust me. They fired her and I left because in that situation, I already told you what I told you, but you let me know. I had to prove myself right. And almost like you're guilty until proven innocent. And that's where I was at. And I left. And they didn't understand why I left. I left the keys and the phone and said thank you. They said, oh, you're not going to give us a 2 weeks notice? I said, you weren't going to give me a 2 weeks notice if you terminated me.
Right.
So I was done. So with that being said, look, all that story was there. With that being said, was you have to remember who you are, and no matter what, our fight is continual. Our fight is continual every day, regardless. And it's like, okay, wait, now with this whole cancel culture, I'm getting ready to segue into this. This whole cancel culture thing is driving me bananas, because what happened to just changing the channel if you don't like the person?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You like what Rugal was talking about. What's this? The Archie Bunker?
Yeah.
Yeah. All in the family. Yeah, all in the family. With that, you just changed the channel. You didn't watch it if you found it offensive. Not, okay, let's take it off, because eventually we'll have nothing. You know, go ahead.
I think the thing is that, like, we got to this point where, like, there were things, there was a social contract that there were certain things you just don't do, right? Like for example, you don't have a swastika, right? Unless you want to do that, and we know where you stand. You broke the social contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what's happening is that, like, those extremes that we had the social contract to eliminate, somehow that mechanism spilled over into, okay, let's go down this rabbit hole to stop certain things. Now, don't get me wrong. Certain, like, for example, you may cancel a person like, what's his name, Weinstein, or Bill Cosby, or R. Kelly, or something like that, right? You because of whatever you feel like they did, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the when we talk about free speech, in that about the social, the issue is, do we feel like they broke this social contract? Like, do we look at people and say, like, well, when you say this sort of language, you perpetuate hate, right? And hate leads to death. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
I think there's this fine line of that, and I think this is the thing that David Chappelle is dealing with, is that, like, some people took what he said as being, let's say, hate speech, right? That's too strong of a word for it, though, because it's, you know, but some people took it as being highly offensive, meaning that when you stoke the flame for people who have no tolerance for certain people, they act because they felt empowered to do so, right? A prime example of this in our country is January 6th. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a, I don't want to sit here and just expound upon it. I'm just going to be down, put a little pin in that.
You done. It's such a, we'll wait.
It's such a, put a pin in it.
What you saying is real, though, bro. Like that's what's real, because you got to think about this. In the early 60s, it was people walking around with signs saying, "Go home, nigga."
Yeah.
Let's be real. And they was doing it in the 80s, too. Like we've been targeted. Like, we've been targeted on race. We've been targeted on like, everything we do, we target. You gotta think about that. It's hard coming out the house to be a black man. Like, even with comedy, like, the way I dress, they think I'm selling dope. The way I do everything, like, in my community, they think I'm a dope dealer. I got stopped by the police one time because I got a C300. You know what I'm saying? I'm riding. First thing he said, "You get a better car than mine." I said, "Well, you need to get a better job." You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying? Then he took me to jail, and I told the judge in the courtroom. I said, he only stopped me because I was in the Mercedes, and I told him, get a better job. He ain't have to take me to jail. I ain't got no warrants, no nothing. What he take me to jail for? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're targeted, and no matter what you do as a black man. It's harder waking up in the morning and walking outside as a black man than it is for a woman, a kid, anything other than that.
Oh, I'm sure.
You got strikes against you. You like, they got more strikes against a black man than I ever seen. You got child support. You got court. You got everything against a black man. A woman ain't got nothing. You don't got nothing. A woman ain't got nothing.
Don't start on Lamont, because that ain't this show. But yeah, I'm gonna have to bring you back.
I'm keeping it real.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring you back on that show when we talk about that. But I do want to talk about, like you said, in the 60s. it was, you know, they had signs that said "Go home, nigga." Let me tell you. Wait a minute. Let me tell you what I still see that sign, and you know what? Let me tell you where I saw that sign, and I was offended. It was, remember the Black Lives Matter. And then when I heard people say all lives matter, that's when I read from the all lives matter, go home nigga, because that's exactly what it said.
That's why they created it, because you got to think about it like this. They trying to counteract the Black Lives.
Yes.
All lives matter. And then if you look at the flag, is white and blue and black.
Uh-huh.
Like, what's that?
That's a blue lives. That's the blue lives matter. But here's my thing: if and you know, with the all lives matter, to me, is no. If all lives matter, there will be no need for a Black Lives Matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Movement. But when I see that, and when people say that, that to me is what speaks to me is go home nigga in the 2000s. That's what I see. Shut up and go home. That's what it said.
Remember the people from our area that got cut at the White House, right? It's like three or four white people in our area from Ohio, from Youngstown. Is one from.
Oh yes. For the riot.
Yeah, the one from PA. I know his nephew.
Uh-huh.
His nephew don't deal with him. But the scenario is this, and his great grandfather was one of the ones that raided the White House. Remember when the Klan took the picture in front of the White House, 5,000 of them?
Uh-huh.
Back in the early 1900s.
Yep.
His great grandfather and them, they was the ones that did that, and I was trying to put two and two together. So if they stormed the house just recently, just imagine all them Klan members that was all them. That was people who identified with the Klan. You ain't see one cop, you ain't see nobody get, you know what I'm saying? They trying to prosecute the black dude who shot the white dude that broke in the White House right now. They're trying to get him on murder charges.
I saw that. We have to go to a viewer. Shimmy said, I was once told that in the black community, the black man is looked at to be the hero. But as soon as we step outside our community, we are looked at as nothing. And that makes it hard to take care of our community. This was from an educated white man.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to speak to that comment?
I mean, a white man shouldn't speak on being black.
No. He said he got that information. That last information. Okay.
No. It's true because I do that. Listen, when we talk to kids and like the statistics of kids and black people in our community, people don't know the real statistics. They only go off what people tell them. They don't really know. Like in your ward, people you vote into your ward is the people who's running the area that you in. So if you got a person who don't like black people, your ward is gonna be like boom, boom, boom. It's always gonna have trouble. It's always gonna have problems. You know what I'm saying? And like our area of Ohio is so watered down and saturated with so many washed up people that people don't understand as racist, and even you got some black people that's racist.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that something? And that's true.
It's scary to find out, but it's really like that. Like you really got black people who don't like black people to make it, and them is the ones that you see in office.
Exactly.
Okay, we're gonna go back to a viewer. Noelle said, and she's speaking to the show The Closer. She said they couldn't have watched the show. Speaking of the actual special on Netflix, in order, why they are protesting. But you know what I think, honestly? And I have a what if for you, Ahala. I think that it's somebody saw, a little piece about it and was like, okay, this is what we're getting ready to do. They called the group up. This is what we're getting ready to do. Nobody's seen it. It's like I'm jumping on the bandwagon and didn't see. Now, here's my what if, because we all know that Dave Chappelle is very intelligent. We saw the special. Now, what if, just what if, and this is to you too, Lamont, what if this is an experiment and his point is now proven?
That would be great. That's the great thing. He always, but see, the world is a dang on experience because you got to think about this, man. Everything you say now is under a microscope. Why is people so sensitive? You can't even whip your kids no more. I see little, like, I'm around little boys. I took a group of little boys to the house. They all ranged 13 to 16. Do you know it was one little boy in there that screamed like from the top of his lungs, and I kept asking him, like, why is you screaming like this? This is the same people we walk past coming in here.
Oh, talk about the monsters?
Yeah, but it's just like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what is, I ain't never, when we was growing up, little boys was boys. Like, it's crazy how this world is changing. Like, for this stuff that they doing. In a minute, it ain't gonna be no more babies. Women ain't gonna reproduce no more. I think that's what they want.
Right.
Okay. Now, Ahala, what if it's an experiment? Because you watched the entire special, and remember he touched on that just as the baby. That situation, like, okay, we get outraged for this, but not that. What if it's an experiment, and he's proven his point?
Well, the one thing I do like about Dave Chappelle is that he touches on everything, and sometimes it's like sometimes he can be a voice on, like you said, because a lot of people think the same thing, but if everybody thinking the same thing and somebody's not thinking, so if it is an experiment and everything that he's saying is true, that's crazy, because you have to think about, like you said, a lot of people are voiceless, and it's like, okay, who's going to say it? Who's going to say it first?
Yeah.
And if it's getting said, then okay, like Lamar was saying, where are the people that's going to help do something about this?
Yes. Now. You know what, though? I'm going to tell you who usually says it first. You guys, the comedians. You guys are the ones that put it out there, and then we talk about it.
You gotta be first. You gotta be first in this game, because this game, all right, put it to you like this. When our mothers, back in the 90s, when our mothers was on crack and drugs, they really made us look bad. Remember that? The crack era, they made us look real bad. It was a war on drugs, a fake war on drugs. They had our mamas in, like, but now all of a sudden you can't talk about gay people. But when the jokes about crackheads and your mama smoked out and
Right.
like, come on, like, we can't talk about nobody else but crackheads and black people.
Boom. Nick, go ahead, Nick. Say what you got to say.
You know, I said that last week. It's all good in the hood when comedians is joking about their own people, talk about black people. But when you go to talk about anybody else, then it's a problem. Then that group of people want to rise up, and it's the end of the world. Man, shut up with y'all sensitive ass. I'm sick of it, for real. Everybody what? I it was funny when we want to talk about black people.
Okay.
Right? Let me touch on something about y'all, your people. Then you want to call the whole world. Sit y'all sensitive behind down.
Okay. Holla, do you have a fan on or something?
No, that was my neighbor pulling his garage.
I'm like, what is that? Because I keep muting it because it's some interference. So that, they got, yeah, that's all. Some interference. Let me go to a viewer real quick, and I want you to expound on that. Joellen says, I am pushing back that some are voiceless. We all have a voice. We just need to use our voice. Go ahead, Ahala.
But like Nick was saying about how it's different people, like when you talk about, it's okay for them to laugh at us. When we hit them, it's a different thing. Because I used to work at my last job, and my coworker, who happens to be a white lady, she would always bring her kid to work with her. And the fact that her daughter is mixed, they would all be like, "Oh, that's your daughter." I say, listen, white folks doing what y'all said we used to do. This the white people bringing their kids to work nowadays. That's not us. We don't always bring our kids to work. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy that they put us in that category of like things that black people do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now everything that y'all was saying we doing, y'all doing what we was doing. Because it took me a long time to realize I never knew that white people was getting food stamps. I never knew that.
They were getting. Wait. Let me say this, and I want Rugo, I want you to respond. It was more white people on assistance than blacks. Just as they say, like incarcerated, they say they thought that it was more black people that are incarcerated, but it's not. So, and that's when programs started changing. It was more, they thought, before, back in the day, it was more black people on drugs. Notice now that it's not, we need to put them in rehab. We need to have programs. We need to do A, B, C, and D. So it's changing. Before it was throw them in jail. Now it's let's throw the person who sold the drugs to the white person in jail.
They only did that because the opiates. They only did that because the opiates. They would have never did that. When black people was on crack, where was this at? Where was that? Let me help this black lady get off the street and feed her family, or let me help this black man get off the street. Where was that at? And it's so crazy. And if you really want to be technical, we can go deeper. Welfare ain't that, but he already knew he was playing that they ain't want him to do.
Now let me say this. Crack, and you guys can look it up, it's there. If you were caught with crack because you changed the consistency of cocaine, it was 10 years a rock. But cocaine, you got less time because it wasn't changed. Go ahead, Rugo. Speak to that, Rugo.
Speak on cocaine, Rugo.
Speak on cocaine, Rugo, and rock. No, speak on like all of it.
I was always told don't do that.
I was with the Nancy Reagan campaign. Just say no to drugs.
And for real, like when I went to college, like it was so much dope on campus. I was like, what? I thought we came here to learn. We came here to get high, man.
On campus, though.
But it was so much. I mean, like I would go to these different parties and stuff. I go to this party and I'd be like, oh, it's time to go. Like this, I was like, this, like, well, you from Youngstown, blah blah. I was like, yeah, but we don't do this. We don't do this. This is not what we do. You know what I mean? And they were kind of shocked about that. I was like, nah, I was like, you cool, but I'm up. But, that was a real thing. But I think the issue when we talk about our country and like programs like the Jobs and Family Services, what they provide to people and everything like that, and we talk about drugs impact and all those things. I think the issue is this: we got to look at the disparity, right? And right now, there's this fight that people have to want to erase history. They want to erase disparity without addressing the needs. They just want you to forget about it.
Yes,
like, get over it. Get over it, go past it, right? Without addressing it. So when we look at like the drugs in the 80s and stuff like that, I mean, you're right. The support as it is now is not there, But the issue that we had during that time period was the layering of increased violence and other things. And it became, it's so much to unpack there. But the point I want to say is that it's so funny when she mentioned that, I didn't know white people would have food stamps or whatever. And I want to say, like, they didn't create the war on poverty because of black people.
Right.
They didn't, like, that wasn't, like, and even now, there's this theme that there's this theme of we don't want to introduce new programs to people because everyone can take advantage of it, right? I mean, that's true. Like I remember I was talking to this guy. He was a Republican or whatever. He had this office. We were talking about access to college, and I felt like college should just be free. Like college should be free in this country because if you win, lose, or fail, you are paying back into this economic system of capitalism that promotes whatever job you go into, right? If you're a nurse, you might work for a for-profit hospital, right? It all comes back, right? It all comes full circle. And the risk and the impact of failure in education post-secondary education is linked, even the success of it is linked to financial failure. If I'm going to go to school to be a doctor, and for some reason I can't complete my third year of medical school, I'm already $100,000 in the hole, and I don't necessarily have a transferable skill, right? We shouldn't have to face those things. So we were talking about this, and his thing was like, well, then everybody will be able to take advantage of it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like, if we're talking about issues of like trying to fill holes in our economy or holes in our society, like right now, like everybody's going crazy. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough nurses. Yeah, because access to that training is almost impossible. I don't want to say impossible to get to because people do it every day. But
challenging.
It's challenging. Yeah, it's challenging. You know, and it's challenging because it's not tied to your ability to do the work. It's tied to your ability to be able to pay for it.
Yes.
And once you start breaking down those kind of disparities and you start rising up, you know, you start having because what I wanted to also focus on, and I say this because someone mentioned the voice. You know, everybody has a voice. Right, everybody has a voice, but not everybody has a platform. And once you start getting that platform, you Wait a minute,
Rugal. Okay.
I hear something.
Yeah, those were your cheers. Those were your cheers.
But I think that's part of the issue is that like they know disparities exist, and when you really start eliminating them by filling the gaps and being able to help people grow, then you have that platform. And when you have that platform, you can change things. You know, I mean, like so often we hear about it, like we hear about the rapper that becomes the producer, that becomes, you know, Jay-Z, right? Let's use him as an example. But I mean, but that's even though he has wealth, unimaginable wealth that will you know, what have you. The issue is that that's truly a microcosm in our overall society, especially from a black perspective. You know, I mean, because that his success is not going to reflect, like, how can I say, his success is not driving change in our community. And I know it sounds crazy, but what I guess what I'm saying is that, like, we need everyone to be able to reach their full potential, even if that's this, I own the corner store. You know what I mean? I have the successful lawn business. You know, I mean, because he's an outlier. What he's doing is an outlier. It's an amazing feat. It's great. It's all those things. But the influence is, what are we doing to ensure that we raise all ships in our community? And that comes with leveling those disparities, destroying them, getting out the way or whatever.
Great. No, I appreciate that. I want to go. Let me put this number out here. The phone number here, if you want in on this conversation, 619-902-2287, 619-902-2287 to join into the conversation. You also can text us at 619-902-2287 if you don't want your name disclosed.
Because I mean, I don't know, just because I'm about to get off. Go
ahead.
Appointment at 12. But I just want to say this real quick. I in my other life, I'm on this Youngstown City School Board, and I was in a debate the other night, and I'm like, somebody said something. I'm just looking right to the camera, just talking that talk, right? Just telling my truth, telling what it needs to be. And somebody said, "Hey, I'm tired of feel good stories, right? We need action." And I was just like. You know, I was just like, well, you know, isn't it time that we start feeling good about something? You know, I mean, like it was the whole thing for me is that, like,
what did that do? What did that do to you when they said?
You know what? What I did. I just told them like this. I was like, you're right. But the issue is that if you want the work done, ain't like me. I have the plan. And I'm going to do the work, you know. So like for me, it was like, I mean,
you're going to do the work feeling good.
Yeah. Because I think the issue was, you know, like, and I say this not being braggadocious, but you're going to take the shot at the king, right?
Uh-huh.
You want to take over the kingdom, you take the shot at the king. So I'm in this situation where I'm sure the person.
Let me say this. That's just a figure of speech. Go ahead. Yeah, you already know how it's gonna go. Go ahead, Rugo.
Yeah, but the concern there was that because it reminded me of what Mr. Bryant had said earlier. And I was like, I'm only saying good things, and people don't want to hear good things. And not good things like, oh, this is a rainbow, and like rainbows and jellyfish, and like real things, inspiring things based on our situation of attempting to move forward.
Yes.
And there's been so much criticism that I've received over this time period. And then some of it is like, I see people like, hey, we just need to help you get a team to do the work, right? I'm like, good, yeah, let's do it. And then the other day, I was down at the Board of Elections. I seen an older black man. I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm such and such this and that. I'm running for office, blah, blah, blah. He was like, yeah, I don't think so. And I'm like, God, dog,
Just what Lamont said.
Like, I was like, yeah. I mean, that's why I brought it up. And I'm thinking, like, what is it that this guy has against me when I've never seen him? I'm right there to have a conversation with him. And it was so crazy because in that same day, I ran into a lady who came to one of our meetings, talking about CRT and transgender teachings and all this other stuff. And I had an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation where I talked to this lady for like 45 minutes, and her whole thing was about what are we teaching kids and all this other stuff about sex and gender and all this sort of thing. I'm like, again, man, we don't have a curriculum that includes that sort of thing. But the heart
it's called health.
The heart of the conversation was I told her this. I said I identify as a Christian, and as a Christian, I pattern my life after Jesus Christ. After patterning my life after Jesus Christ, you know what I received from that is that you love everybody.
Yes.
So how would you want me to reject that child because you think that it doesn't fit into what your vision of a child should be or whatever? I was like, that child needs to be loved and educated just like every other child. And it was this thing where, you find yourself defending, like, I had to take it to a place of just being like, let's look at just basic morality with this situation. Just basic morality, look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about this child feeling safe, loved, and educated. And you want me not to do that?
Yeah, that's interesting, but I don't want you to be late for your appointment, Rugo.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead with your pitch. Say your pitch real quick. You got 5 seconds before I let you go.
Oh, just vote Ron Shannon, Board of Education this November. Or even go to Souls on the Poll tomorrow. Go vote early.
All right, thank you for coming on. Take it easy.
All right, thanks.
All right. Y'all so funny. I love my people. Look, keep it going. Keep it going. All right. So we're going to move back to you guys, the comedians that I had coming on. So you still keep your set exactly the same?
Mine sort of changed by the college.
How do you?
I can move through in the shorts. Just.
How do you do that though?
I all of them did comedy shows with me. Like, there's been comedy shows I really had to get on my back because certain comedians writing. It's just sometimes people overdo themselves trying to do too much, and you don't even really have to do that stuff. Comedy should come from the heart, what you've been through, your experiences, and make it funny. That's all to it.
Okay. All right.
I do. It's funny because when I started doing comedy, I didn't have really, nobody that was telling me the rights and wrongs, ins and outs. I pretty much still was learning how to just, maneuver through these shows and stuff. So, when I entered a comedy contest, somebody entered me into, and that's why I learned how to do comedy. And I really actually like doing comedy more than I do. But the ratchet shows. But when certain comedians book me, I've learned to ask, what is this crowd like?
Okay, so you asked before. All right, we got to go to a caller. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Shop Talk. Caller?
Hi, this is Joellen.
Hi.
Listen, this is really great conversation. I'm telling you, I came in a little late, and but this is great conversation. There is research out there. I'm an educator, so there's research out there that supports the idea that our people, all people, even other people of other colors, believe the racial stereotypes that are out there themselves. And so they're operating from that premise. And until we change that, get in there and work with souls from a perspective of love and respect, learning orientation, what it is and what it isn't, what love and respect is and what it isn't, what self-esteem, self-confidence, self-persistence, self-reliance, interpersonal communication, what it is and what it is not. And so we get back to our collective, because we all come from collective societies.
Uh-huh.
And now we're over here trying to negotiate being in this capitalistic dog-eat-dog world with our collective hearts, our collective souls, and we're coming, trying to belong to this something that we don't belong to. It's not us.
Okay, let me ask you this, Joellen. What would be your solution?
My solution is to educate, but from a culturally competent perspective.
Okay, I can respect that. All right, thank you for calling Shop Talk, and keep listening. We appreciate you.
I like to feed off something she said, but it's more. We have to have more resources for our people. Like we have to start bringing more community-based organizations around instead of just doing it for one point in time. We need that every day, all year round. We need resources for people who are homeless, resources for people who need education, resources for people who don't understand. Like, we need resources. We need to start teaching our accounting classes, like financial classes, business classes. We need all that stuff in our own neighborhoods instead of going out there reaching out to these white people. Not saying they're like that, but that's why the world is like it is now, because we always have to run to somebody to go get ahead. Like, we got enough currency from black people. It's a lot of rich black people in this world. If people would stop buying dumb shit and come together and put that money to something that's going to really help the community, it'll be a lot more business and a lot more progress in this country. Like, you got to think about this. The black people have been down forever. I ain't never seen one black leadership with Black Wall Street. And they took that away from us.
Yes, that was because we had it.
And that's what I'm saying. After that happened, where is it at? Like, we got all these black business people can buy chains of wing stops and all this other stuff. You're supposed to be buying chains of something that's going to get your community, change your whole perception of everything that you got going on. If I had $2 billion or close to $1 billion right now, I would make sure I put something in place where everybody's going to receive some money.
I can appreciate that. Thank you. When you said the wing spots, Nick, was that a was that shade toward Rick Ross? but let me say this. When you start a business, you're in the business to make money. So, depending on what your thing is and what your passion is, and it might be food, I mean, you're like, okay, I'm going to offer this to my people, but I ain't going to say nothing. We're going to keep that right where it's at, because I don't like thighs, Rick Ross, just to let you know, since it's a short its own wings. All right, let me go ahead and put that out there, or let's put that out there for everybody. I will say this, and I'm glad you did bring that point up. What's going on right now, I need you guys to go out and research it after the show, of course. And I also want to put this here. You can listen to Shop Talk with Mel on your favorite podcast. Whatever podcast you listen to, you can look us up. You can listen to us right now live, okay, if you have an issue with the people, on the radio. And you can look at it later, for my radio listeners that are out there. There is, I can't even remember the book. I hate that I can't. But look it up. They're trying to eliminate our past and want to start right now, right here. Kind of like what Rugal was saying. Oh, yeah, you guys got to check that out. Check that out. My job is to keep you informed. If you see on every post I have, KYI, keeping you informed. Those are things that you want to pay attention to. Yes. So it's not resolving. I can't remember if that was you, Lamont, or Ahala. That might have been Rugal that was saying instead of resolving the issue, they just want to eliminate it or to do anything about it. You want to eliminate it as if it was never.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Teacher, how can you understand your present and know how to go on with your future if you don't know what your past is like?
Say it one more time.
Just say it one more time. He said say it one more time.
How can you understand your present and know how to go on with your future if you don't know what the past was like, y'all?
That's so many black people expect.
Okay, let me say this, because I like that. But let me say this. You have to look at our generation. I call it the generation of entitlement. And you said, and we've heard this has been coined over and over, old adage. If you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. The problem is with the new and improved. So kudos to the parents that are teaching their children, okay? But with the new and improved, it wasn't their past. That's how they're looking at it. Trust and believe, I talked to a few. Their past is from the time that they were born and not looking at the bloodline. So if they're looking at their past from the time that they were born, and most of us, and I say our generation, it's like, okay, what I didn't have, I'm going to make sure that my children have. So it's a give me.
Right. That's deep, though.
So it is our responsibility to teach them, even if they don't want to hear, like, oh, here you go with that lecture again. That was me too. Here we go with a lecture. I knew if I wanted to go skating, I had to go to church Sunday morning, or I was not going. But I knew I was going to have a lecture as well, and I knew there were things that was expected of me that I had to do to get it. But I was willing to listen to it, and believe it or not, some of that stuff gets in there. You revert back to it. You know what I mean? Your aunt, your uncle, your grandmother, something that your grandmother said to you years ago when you were little is coming back now. And you're like, oh, yeah, she did say that. Is that what they meant? You know what I mean? So it is our responsibility to teach. So again, I say some of them, not all, some of them, that's not their past. Their past was they never had to work for anything. They didn't have the struggles that the bloodline had. We have to teach our youth the bloodline history. So yes, Nick, I can appreciate that. And once they see that, then they, it's like, no, we're not trying to make you sad, but we're letting you know this is what we went through. But let's start by this, because your history books are going to say slavery is where we started, which is untrue because we were kings and queens. So if you're going to teach it, let's teach it. Okay. So you got your king and queens. This is what they need to know with the bloodline. We started off as kings and queens, and somewhere along the line, somewhere we felt that it was okay to become a slave. Okay, that's why I don't take cruises to this day. Go ahead, Lamont. Something you want to say?
Because you gotta think about this. The religion that black people are under, Christian and Catholic, is white people. That's not your religion. It's not your religion. You gotta. I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want people to be out here going crazy about it. But it's deeper.
It's a 2-hour show. That's it.
I'm gonna tell you like this. Do your research on the real black history, on the pharaoh laws, on all that type of stuff like that. You gotta really dig deep. Egypt is where you go first. Okay? Egypt and Africa. You have to go there first. And then slaves weren't even, you really think about it, it wasn't no slaves. That was put in the book. Those people that they brought from Africa never made it over there. Died on those boats.
Uh-huh.
They killed they did kill a lot of Africans on boats. You know what I'm saying? But we was already here. It wasn't no slave. That's just something they wanted you to believe in, because white people kept knowledge away from black people. They didn't let them read. So
Right.
you gotta think about it. If you got a Bible and you see this white man praying and this is what he giving you to pray, you gonna fall to your knees. You gonna pray like him, because this is what you're learning from.
What you're accustomed to.
Yeah, so a Catholic and a Christian is a white man's religion. That's not your religion. They kept your religion away from you, because if you know too much about yourself, then they lose control.
So you think it's all about control?
It's all controlling. You got to think about this. Hitler went in Germany with a Nazi flag. You know what a Nazi flag is? An Ethiopian flag. That's not no racist flag. It's an Ethiopian flag.
That they changed the narrative on.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. So here you have you're trying to shut people up. But and to segue from what Lamont was saying is, I'm segueing from that to back to the Netflix. Why Dave Chappelle? There's so many more specials on Netflix that they could have boycotted, you know?
He's the white man's hero. You got to think about that. Dave Chappelle was doing sketch comedy. If you look at his crowd, the Chappelle show, it was normally white until Charlie Murphy took over. He was always doing white comedy. His first movie really came out was Half Baked. 3 white boys and a Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. Like, it was never no real Dave Chappelle. I'm not going to say he's not black. He's black, but his comedy was more aimed at white people. Charlie Murphy gave him the black people crowd and the access to come cross over into the crowd that he wasn't getting before. And you look at all his specials, he really degraded black people. He got Tyrone Biggums, the biggest crackhead. He talked about pimps. He talked about hoes. He talked about everything in the black world.
And yet black people didn't say let's cancel them.
Yeah. No,
and I'm not saying to do that, but I'm saying let's look at it. Back to my the easiest thing you could do is just change the channel if you're not interested. I don't think that I love Dave Chappelle. I love anyone who's intellectual. I do, because that's what I feed off, intellect. I appreciate everyone for who they are. That's why this platform it's okay to be you. We don't discriminate. We have discussions. And again, I'll say, just because I love my people don't mean I don't like you. You know what I mean? And it's so interesting how you're almost put in a box. It's like, okay, well, you can't talk because you said this. Wait a minute. Or you're pro-black. You don't like any other race. Why? Because I love me? You know what I mean? So it's like we have to allow people to be who they are, not shut anyone up, because if that's the case, and if everything was one way, it would be quite boring. Let's be real. You know what I mean? We have to allow people to speak their truth, and everyone is allowed to believe what they want to believe. And it is not up to you to be upset with me because I don't think the way that you think. And then you can't tell me that I'm wrong for my way of thinking because I don't think the way that you think. So I think everyone needs to be able to voice their own opinion and believe what they want to believe without being condemned, because we all have choices and it's an individual choice. So if you choose to be transgender, okay. And here's what's interesting. Did we choose to be black? No, we're black. And I just find it's mind-boggling to me that, okay, when you had gay is the new black, I was pissed and I spoke about it. I've been on air for 10 years. I was pissed and I spoke about it because when we walk out the door, you see our color. We are not asking you to let me see your genitals. Do you? You know what I mean? Do you? I keep muting it because there's interference. It seems like there's wind or something that's blowing, and you keep lightening up so I know where it's coming from. So please don't fart because your little square gonna light up. We gonna know it's you that's framed, you know. So I had to put that out there, lovely people. That's why I keep muting you. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute because I want to know what's going on in your lives. Let's go. Ahala, what you got coming up? Comedian Ahala, what you got coming up?
Friday, I'll be in Youngstown. November 6th, I'll be in Reynoldsburg. On the 12th and 13th, I'll be in Detroit. 19th is Youngstown. The 20th is Massillon. And 25th and 26th is Pittsburgh.
Okay, so the Northeast area. Okay, I'll have her dates available on the website, shoptalkwithmel.com, and also below this actual Zoom, the show. I'll put all that information there and where you'll be. Lamont, what you got coming up?
Right now I'm in Atlanta, about to do the show tonight. When I come back, I got to come back on the 26th. I got another show down here.
When you say down here, where? Because we're worldwide.
I got another show in Atlanta on the 26th with some big names in Atlanta. And after that, I'm chilling for to the new year. I've been ran across this world all year. I'm sitting down.
Taking a break, huh?
After this show, I'm going to sit down for probably like a month and a half and then wait for the new year to come in, wait on my schedule and all my bookings, and then we go from there.
I hear both of you guys, you said you have one tonight. So you're on stage, so you're away from everybody. Social distancing is there. How's your crowds now with COVID?
Crowds is still the same.
Are they?
Yeah, they come with the mask on and everything. I love the comedy crowds because it ain't like going to no rap show or nothing like that. People really want to see you come perform, and they really enjoy that. And it's like when people pay their money, I try to give them every penny of their money. You know what I'm saying? I try to do everything I can to make them feel like they came to where and enjoy the great show without having to do extra stuff. And, you know, comedy is comedy. I'm here to make you laugh. I'm here to make you have a good time.
Get rid of all our woes. That's what I use comedy for a good time. And I don't be wanting to hear all the politics and all that other stuff, you know? Go ahead, Eb. Ahalo, what's your thoughts on the crowd? How's the crowd since COVID?
It's good, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, it's pretty much still the same, you know? Like you said, because they've been through so much, so like you said, they need that burst of laughter so they can release everything that's built up on them for being in the house for so long, and some people didn't have to go to work and stuff like that. So it's awesome because, you know, it's like some people know even this, especially if they haven't seen you in a while. It's like, oh, they get that energy back. I'm like, okay, so yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Okay, this just came across. Well, yeah, it did just come across my desk. Dave Chappelle, he said he wouldn't mind meeting with the LGBTQ transgender community and have a sit down, but he did state he was not bending. So there was no backpedaling. And to that, yeah, you know, he's willing to hear their voice. And there were some comedians, I can't remember the guy, I think I sent it to you, Eb, his name. But I feel like, okay, to each his own, but I believe this and you're not going to change my way of thinking and I'll hear you out. And I'm still going to be a comedian. And to that, I say to both of you, thank you guys for coming on. I truly appreciate it. And still, let comedy be comedy. Let comedy be just what it is. Comedy. We do come to the comedy shows for what's happening new, because you guys are usually the first ones to address those things that some people are afraid of addressing. And it was like a fearless, you know, it was fearless, a fearless set. This is what I'm saying. Like it or not, if you don't like it, don't support me, all is well. Keep it moving. And I'm speaking for Dave Chappelle. Let's be real. Just like he said, he already got paid his $20 million. They talking about cancel. He like, I already got paid. This is a man, what was it, 50 million that he walked off the whole set, and we like, oh, where did he go? So you know he ain't tripping. And also across my desk, I just received this, that Netflix, you know, they have their issues, and the one said, the spokesperson for Netflix said, I appreciate the coworkers. So he said, I appreciate, you know, your decision to go ahead and walk off. All is well. It's like I'm not pulling it. And Netflix is making a mint. We know, hit him in the pocket, and that will be an issue. But that's not an issue for Dave Chappelle of hitting him in the pocket. But what just came across, and this is alleged, I have to cover myself with that, but I think it's coming. You have the transgender that's saying pull him, and then you have the other subscribers. Okay, look, the other. So you got. I'm just putting this out here. 25%. That's saying pull the closer, But you got 75% that said if you pull the closer, we are canceling our subscription. So y'all check that out and watch it. So everybody's standing up. Like I said, and eventually it's not going to be nothing. This is what you want to do? Okay. Then you have the 75% that's like, okay, or the 3/4 that's like, okay, well, we'll cancel our subscription. And the 25% can watch whatever they want to watch on Netflix.
Right.
What do you do then? If somebody would like to book you, holler, what's your booking information?
My book information is Ebony Gordon on Facebook. You can hit me through Messenger, or you can hit me on Instagram. It's EYE_HOLLA. Hit me a DM, and we can go from there.
Okay, well, guess what? I'm getting ready to tell you that a lot of our listeners, and right now we're over 6,000 listeners because I'm able to see that. They need other information, and they may not have social media.
Well, am I allowed to give out my phone number?
It's up to you, depending on what type of conversations you have. And go ahead.
That's the only other thing I have for, because I'm listening. They say, say you want to have some black person put in the book. I like to read, so if you send it to my email, I'm not going to read it because I don't check emails. But I will give you my email. It is Gordon Ebony, and everything is lowercase, GORDONEBONI85@yahoo.com.
Okay, and you guys can reach out to me. I'll give you her email information, okay? And all you have to do, just put in the subject part, Shop Talk with Mel, so that she'll know, where you guys listen from. Lamont, same thing. Information for the listening audience.
You can hit me up on Facebook, Lamont C. Bryant. I got another page, Lamont Bryant. You can hit me up on Twitter, not Twitter, but Instagram, Lamont 330ENT LLC, and you can hit me up on TikTok, comedian Lamont Bryant. Lamont Bryant on TikTok.
Do you have an email address? I know it's early. I got you. I appreciate you coming on too.
Okay, I got email 330ENT LLC@gmail.com. And if you want to book me, just hit me up on Facebook or send me an email. What you got to do.
All right, and I'll have his information below. And for the listening audience, you can go to the website, www.shoptalkwithmel.com, and you can catch us on, like I said, on all socials and your favorite podcast, whichever podcast that you listen to. Just look up Shop Talk with Mel. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Me and Nick gonna stay on and deal with these hot topics. If y'all want to stay with the hot topics, you definitely can. It's totally up to you, because I'm getting ready to talk about that $25 an hour at these fast food restaurants. I gotta give it to you, So you guys can remove yourself if you gotta go. Now, Nick, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you guys to pay attention. Now you have and I'll name a few: Wendy's, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts. They're looking at the big $22, $25. You know what I mean? An hour. You guys got to pay attention to this, and I'm just going to use this. This is easier math for me. So, and they pay more than $16, but we know the minimum wage was about $8 an hour. So you're like, oh, I'm going to make more money. Now, let's say they bring it up to $16. Oh, I'm going to make great money. And you're like, okay, I'll take it. You got to watch the hours, though. So if you are making the $16 an hour, which is more, but if you are making $16 an hour and you're looking like, oh, yeah, I'm there. Give me the $100 bonus, which is nothing, but we'll keep that quiet. But they only give you 24 hours a week. You're making $8 an hour. Go back to it. So you have to look at your hours. Ask that question. What is my hours? I need to know, you know what I mean? Before you go and leave one job to come back, or be like, oh, I need them back. Because some people leave one job and they're like, okay, they're paying more. I'm going to go this way. The grass is not always greener. And if you're in it for the money, go for it. But just make sure that you get the 40 hours a week that you expect and not the 24. And they figure, oh, okay, well, I'm only paying them 24 hours. For 24 hours a week, which puts you right back at minimum wage. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and just use use that analogy. Nick, what's happening? What's happening in the street?
Not too much of nothing. The same thing. Still dealing with Dave Chappelle and
Tell us, because this and that is nothing to the listening audience.
huh?
I said this and that is nothing to the listening audience. You got to speak. You have to give us a picture.
Okay, the picture, well, like I said, they still dealing with that stuff with Dave Chappelle. Right now we have local elections coming up. If you local in Youngstown, make sure you get out vote.
And not just Youngstown, everywhere. Everywhere.
Everybody, y'all got your local election?
Yeah, everywhere. November 2nd. Guys, we have to get out and vote. And you know what? I do want to say this. A lot of people don't. Okay, let me say you brought it up, Nick. Let me say this. A lot of people don't vote for the local election. They vote just on the presidential election. The local is it should be so much more important to you because those are the people that you are going to face. And I am big on the judges. You guys, that don't vote, you vote these judges in there. Listen, they will make or break you. So watch.
Your community.
Yeah.
You can't complain about what's not happening in your community if you don't get out there and vote. And you have a lot of people like, oh, they ain't about to do nothing and ain't president and we got to do this. But you're the same ones that don't want to get out there and vote on what's going on in your community. So therefore, if you don't get out there and vote, then your voice is not being heard, then shut up.
Yeah, you got
it. If you want your voice to be heard and you want everything to be treated fair and you got to get out there and vote. I mean, just period, point blank in the conversation. I mean, you can't be complaining about what's going on in your community if you don't make your voice heard and if you don't get out there and vote. That's how you make your voice heard. Get out there and vote.
Yeah. Get out there and vote. Exercise your right to vote. And for the people that are running for election, let me say this to you. If a group does not, go ahead, I don't know what you got going on, but I can't stop the show. So if a group does not support you, keep your head up. That does not mean people won't vote for you. Just remember that. It's not that people will not vote for you because you feel as though the majority didn't endorse you or you don't feel like you're endorsed. That does not mean anyone. I do have a quick commercial that I do have to say. Advertisement, rather. And that is Re-elect Mayor Tito Brown. Re-elect Mayor Tito Brown. All right, had to say that, all right? So don't feel like the odds are against you. If you have not been endorsed, don't feel like the odds are against you because we, the people, are the ones who vote. So get out there and please vote. I had to say that one. I hate talking about, the LGBTQ community, but that has been the topic over and over. And I am over it, honestly. I really am. And that is with, people like Little Boosie. I don't even know why I'm giving him airtime, but I got to because I got to talk about it. Some people like Little Boosie. Listen, if you don't want to accept everybody, it is totally your right. But don't shame anyone for anything. We got to stop the hate. Because just like Willamette was saying, hate equals death. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, we have to stop the hate. And we have to stop putting our energy into hate. Now back to voting. And y'all know I don't do politics. But I am going to say this. I do exercise my right to vote. I'm a firm believer. Let your voice be heard. You have the right to remain silent or vote. We couldn't vote. And for the new 18-year-olds that are able to vote during this election, please vote. Exercise your right to vote. Your police chief, some of those in certain counties and areas, depending on your state and city, you put those people in place. If you don't like the way it's going, exercise your right to vote. And remember, you have different felons out there, and a lot of the states are letting, if you had a felony, they're allowing you to vote again once you are released. Before they didn't. So there is some change. Vote, vote, vote. Vote, vote, vote. Just as, we're speaking on today's show all together, 1 + 1 = 2. Either way you look at it, it's 1 + 1. Let's speak the truth and let our truths be our truths and not persuaded by someone else. We are allowed to change our mind, but let our truths be our truths and allow people to be who they are. Really, difference is good. Difference is totally good. All right, Nick, do you have anybody or no for our spotlight?
Yes, I actually do.
Yes.
I have.
All right, today's small business spotlight coming up. Go ahead, girl.
She Rose Enterprises, Inc. She specializes in fedoras, apple hats, and caps. The price range is $35 to $60. So you want to get with Miss Anitra Hobbs, and her business again is She Rose Enterprises, Inc. You can call her at 330-999-0791. She's mobile, so if you need a hat, just give her a ring, or you can hit her up on Facebook, because she does have her She Rose
Facebook page. Now, I will add to that. I will add to that, and her information will be below as well. She has lids. Lids. If you guys seen me with lids, I actually and I got them from She Rose. So when you see me rocking my lids, that's where I get my hats, okay? From She Rose, and that is SHE apostrophe ROSE. Her information will be below. She Rose Facebook page. She delivers if you're in the area, but most times it's mailed. So I get mine sent. So she has no issue with mailing it. So that's it. She Rose. Yes. Anitra, owner, founder, Anitra Hobbs. All right. So Facebook.com/She Rose.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Them have to be so very sharp. They're sharp.
They do. Now, what hats does she specialize in again, Nick?
She specializes in fedoras, and then she also has, the different bands that, a couple hats where you have the interchangeable bands. She also specializes in apple hats and caps.
All right. Today's footnote is each one of us can make a difference. Together we make change. Okay? And that is from Barbara Mikulski. Even though we've heard that over and over and over again, together we make change. I say that to say this as the footnote today. It's okay, and we love. Together we make change. But we have to know our past, just like you said, Nick. If we don't know our past, how can we? How did you put it? You forgot.
In order to understand your future, in order to understand your present and know how to go on with your future, you have to know your past.
There you go. Okay, so there, my mom always said, in order to, what did you say? Look, she's in here too. If you don't know your past, you're bound to repeat it. Author unknown. Let's put it that way. And together we can make change, and together collaboratively we can make change. So each one of us can make a difference in the world, and we can be different because we like that. We like colors. Okay? And I want to add this to today's footnote. When we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Individually. Got to remember that. All right, lovely people, that is my time. Follow us on all socials at Shop Talk with Mel, and you can listen to the show live or go back and listen to it on your favorite podcast or wherever you get your podcasts. Find you, embrace you. Most importantly, always, always love you. Until next week, people. Shop Talk. We'll get it. We got to get us back in the studio.